Do I have sound this time or what? Right, so I'm annoyed because I just recorded this video and there was no sound. So I'm gonna do it again, but it might be shorter. This dissertation diary is about the introduction and literature review of my proposal. And what I was saying when I recorded it before is that a large part of why I'm doing dissertation diaries, it's mostly for myself, it's not for you, sorry, but it's so that I can also like process things out loud. And I just did that, and there was no sound. There was no sound, but it's fine. A large part of what I'm struggling with right now with my proposal is the introduction and the literature review and what makes them distinct from each other. In the dissertation, the introduction is like the background information, your purpose statement, the statement of the problem, like it's giving context to what people can expect from the dissertation, right? And then the literature review is like, and here's what the literature says about like these things that are related. But up until now, I have been writing manuscript style, which integrates those two pieces so that they are not like two separate entities. And what I'm struggling with is making them separate. So Michigan State does 5-chapter dissertations where your first chapter is your your first chapter is your introduction, your second chapter is your literature review, third methods, fourth results, fifth discussion. I've seen some places that do 4 chapters where it's introduction, where your literature review is in there, and then methods, results, discussion. I would have loved to have like a 4-chapter one where the introduction and literature review are integrated and they are together in the style of like academic writing that I have been doing for the past few years. But now I have to take those two and I have to make them distinct. And conceptually, I know how they're distinct, but when I'm writing, it feels like I'm writing the same thing twice, and I know that's not right. I know how to do a literature review, and I know how to do the introduction of like a journal article, but when I'm thinking about a dissertation, I'm like looking at dissertations from students who've graduated from my program, and I see how they're different, but I also see how like you're just telling me the same thing. It's the same stuff, but the literature review is less integrated. You're just saying it. You're like, here's what the literature says, but in the intro it's like, here's what it said and here's how it's connected to what you're about to read. And I get that. A lot of why I am doing this dissertation diary is to talk out loud and process, but also try to figure out what I'm doing. And I do that a lot with other students on my research team who have the same advisor. There are 3 of us in my cohort. So all of us are working on our proposals right now. And I'll like talk to them, process things out loud. I'll talk with my advisor to process things. But then it's like, what he's telling me is a little bit different from what he's told other students, which makes sense like within the context of the different topics and different like methodology that we have. But it's also like he says one thing and they say another thing, and obviously whatever they say I have to take with a grain of salt because they are talking within the context of their research. What he's telling me is in the context of my research. So it's like not always exactly the same. So it's like kind of like this, like, or like What's this, like a turkey? What? You know, the thing. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But I have to be careful with the information that I'm kind of taking in and how it works with my study. Obviously, I'm gonna take more of what he tells me because those are the expectations he has, but it's also like it's my research. So even as I'm like writing the introduction and the literature review, I understand what they are, but now I'm like, how long is a dissertation? I've seen some really short dissertations. I've seen some ridiculously long ones, and trying to figure out like, okay, did I get my point across? Did I say what I needed to say? And does it make sense? Because I think my advisor at least is not a fan of like super long dissertations because he's a fan of efficiency. He likes you to be able to get to the point and not talk around what you're trying to say. Stop talking around what you're trying to say and just say it, which I'm totally down for. But my thing is like, am I saying enough where if my original paragraph was this long and I've now cut it down to this, are these saying the same thing? Even though I've condensed it, how do I know that to someone else, if they now only have this information, are they understanding what I originally had? I don't know why I'm doing this, but you know, you see it. Anyway, so it's just a lot for me to think about when I think about like what's enough or what's too much. Have I over-explained something? And I think at least for these first few rounds, I would rather over-explain things and chop away at it than not have enough and have to go back and fill in the gaps. I want all the gaps to be filled and then just break away what's not necessary. So, with that being said, it is currently April 15th, and my goal was to get my first draft to my advisor by May 1st. That's about 2 weeks. 2 weeks? 2 weeks? 3 weeks. That is, I'm gonna look. It's not coming out. Well, let's check my phone. That is 2 weeks and a couple days from now. Great. I can do that. I have a pretty good writing schedule, and I'm actually not that far behind as I thought I would be. As of today, my third chapter, my methods, is pretty much done. There's just one measure that I need to add to it and kind of edit it and go back and take a peek at it. And I would say I think I have about half of my introduction done. My literature review, like I said, I feel like the literature review is less confusing because it's just like, here's the research, here's what it is, and it's the integration part that I need to make sure is distinct from the lit review. So I think I'm actually in a good spot. I spend at least 4 days a week working on my dissertation, and I'm not someone who can work in like small chunks, so I actually work on it for many hours those 4 days. And I think I'm a pretty quick writer, so getting the thoughts on the page isn't the issue. It's just making sure that the thoughts make sense for the most part. But that's where I am. I'm gonna keep reiterating the May 1st deadline that I've set for myself. It is not like a hard, fast deadline for my advisor. That is the deadline that I need to get. I need to get it to him by May 1st if I want that feedback before summer stuff starts. So then, you know, give it to him May 1st, and then I have 2 weeks of just like actually being able to take a break from it, which is not technically the point of turning in the draft. Like, he needs to see the draft as my advisor in my dissertation chair. But it would also be nice to have a couple weeks where I am just waiting for him to get back to me. And that's when the semester ends, and I would really, really appreciate just like having like a little bit of space to rest. So that's what I'm going to say about that. If this video does not have audio, there will not be a video this week, and you won't know about it because you will never see it, and this will never see the light of day. But if it has audio, yay, and here you go. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, advice on the introduction and lit review chapters, let me know. I would greatly appreciate it, and I will take any advice anyone can give me, but just know that I may not end up taking it if it doesn't align with what me or my advisor are trying to do. But I appreciate it. Okay. Dissertation Diaries.